Hi, good evening, or good afternoon, and good evening, and good night, everyone. My name is Neta Shani. I'm a pediatric acupuncturist, and I do sensory balancing. I work mostly with sensory and emotional regulation. And we're going to talk a little bit about emotional regulation, and also I'll give you some mindfulness ideas. The biggest tip I can give you, and I'll give it to you now, is you just make up things, and I'll explain how. So for emotional regulation, I want you to first think about sensory processing. So imagine someone complains that when they hear things, it's too loud. So for them, it is too loud. It's like their buttons are set. So when you go to the movies and maybe it's a little bit loud for them, it's painful. And for someone else, it's like that with smells. So they either smell it too strong, or some people just don't smell it enough. So it can be with different senses. And actually, the eighth sense is about the emotional regulation. So it's the same. If someone feels emotions big, they feel it differently than others. That's the way they process it. And many times they're aware. Like I have kids telling me, when I get mad, I get very, very mad. I don't want to get that mad. They know it's not proportional and they feel bad about it. Some kids have a hard time expressing it. They're embarrassed, or they're most of the time they are aware. But some kids, they have the ability to say it. And there was a boy who said that, yes, every time he gets so mad, and he said, I don't want to, I don't plan on it. And we worked on it, and he was very aware of saying, yes, now I can think before this situation. And sometimes he would tell his friends, I'm sorry, I need to go, because he knows that he's upset. He doesn't show it like he used to, but he's aware, and it's a process. And there was a girl that said that she really yells at her sisters and gets really, really mad. And again, she knows that she's not supposed to get that mad. She knows that when she gets mad, it's not proportional to how she's supposed to feel it. So that's a little bit about that. And it's the same like with the sensory issues. It's some buttons are, again, too high or too low, and with emotional regulation, it's too high, so they experience it in big emotions. It's actually ADHD. It's the same. It's some buttons are out of tune, and it's like the brain is so it's hard to find peace and quiet. And I don't know if you guys see it, like the ADHD kids, that the way for them is to go in their speed, like that. Think like they think, because kids are a lot more dynamic. And you can see on us, some people, they are able to meditate for a very long time. Some of them even wake up at 5:30 to meditate and 6 a.m. to meditate, and they can do it for like an hour or a long time. But some, no, they can only do dynamic things. So even for us, not all of us can meditate. Not all of us. Some people hear the word mindfulness and it's like, but it doesn't have to be like that. For some people, running is their meditation. That's where they can think, they can focus, or they can just not think, just be in the moment. For some, yoga, that's their being in the moment and just being mindful and turning off their brain. For some, it's dancing. For some, it's swimming. For some, it's reading. For some, it's meditating. So we're all programmed differently, and sometimes we change. Like for me, I remember that I used to look at people doing Pilates, and I was looking at them and, no, I can't do that. That's boring. You're like doing nothing. And then I attended a class, and it was not doing nothing. It looks like you're doing nothing, but everything hurts. It's even hard to breathe. So, and then I found that wow, I love the pace. I love that you're staying, in a position and just focusing on breathing and feeling what's going on in your body. So we try things and we learn what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And for kids, I will say it again and again, it has to be dynamic. I'll give you another idea with acupuncture or even massage sessions. I remember I used to work in a place where things were very, very rapid. Like I would see a person and in 45 minutes, I would need to see the next person, and I can't be late. It has to be on time, and you have to do everything. You have to ask all the questions and do all the things you wanted to do in the treatment that you wanted to be effective. And I learned that it doesn't have to take me a whole hour. I can do everything I wanted in 45 minutes. I just adjusted. And then I was working at a different place, and it was a shiatsu session, and it was 75 minutes. And I remember I asked a colleague of mine, I said, how do I turn something that is maximum 45 minutes into 75 minutes? What am I supposed to do in that time? I was so focused on getting everything I wanted, learning to do it very efficiently in 45 minutes, that's all. And suddenly I have to not revert back to 60, but to 75 minutes. And she said, it's just you adjust yourself to a different time zone. You're not working so rapidly to get everything you want done. You have all the time in the world. It's 75 minutes. And I adjusted. She was right. You can do that. You can adjust. And it's the same if someone is very, very late for their session. They only have 20 minutes, but they want to still enjoy the benefits of the session. You can do it in 20 minutes. It's a state of mind. And so with kids, they're little people and they have a different pace, and we need to read into their pace. And I remember there was a 2-year-old, he was 2-year-old back then, and I was doing acupuncture on him. And you can imagine with a 2-year-old, it's not like with a grown-up that lies on the table and you stick in the needles, and it's totally different. For some, I don't even use needles, but anyway, even if with the needle, it's just kind of an in and out 2-year-old. And I was working on him for a while, and I was out of state for a few weeks, and he had a cold. So his mom took him to the clinic, and there was no one else that was working with kids. And the only acupuncturist that was willing to see him, she was fresh out of school. And she did what she learned in school. She did the protocol, which is 20 points lying on his back with needles, and then 20 minutes lying on the front with needles on his backside. And I looked at his chart and I saw, and I was amazed. That's what she did on him. And that 2-year-old, or he was almost 3, but he did it. He lay down for 20 minutes and 20 minutes for a session like an adult, which is usually would not happen with kids, but he doesn't need that. He's a child. Usually with children, it's dynamic. We play, we do this, we play, we do that. And sometimes for some kids, they would just sit and I'll do the whole session. But for some, I will do one point and then we'll play. And then I'll do another point and then we'll play. And then we'll do another point and then we'll play, because I work around them. And again, that's when we see our child and what they need and what their pace is, we just, we just improvise. And I can say I'm not a mindfulness practitioner. It's just something that I make up in the clinic as I go. And I was volunteering in my children's class, and I suggested might as well, if I come, I'll do mindfulness. And every time I came, they would split the class in 2, and we would do something on one group and then the other group. And the funny thing was, the first group and the second group was never the same, or even if I took the same things, the group would react differently to them. So if something was for 5 minutes for one group, the second group, they lose interest, so I do it 1 minute. It's very, very different. So improvise, play. That's, again, my tip to you. So a lot of parents ask, how do you even do mindfulness with kids? I mean, it's boring for them. So we do not sit and meditate with the kids. We do something that is play-based and helps them kind of be in the moment. And again, it's different with each group and different with each child, and it's different per situation. And I'll give you a few examples. So let's start by all of us doing something. I want us all to wash our hands like this. Imagine where we put some soap, and now we're gonna rub. And how does it feel? Is it warm? Is it hot? Is it just no temperature? Is the pressure too much? Do we want more? Do we want less? We're asking questions and we're focusing on it. Do we want to do it fast, or would we want to do it slow? And what does it do? When we do it fast, is it making me hyper? Is it helping me wake up? When I do it slow, is it making me more focused? So we can kind of ask questions and maybe write it down so we have ideas what to do, or give your child tools, or for you, just for your records. Okay, remember we did this and this helped us, get the wiggles out, or something like that. And then we can wash our face. And I'm asking you to do it too, so you can see how it feels. Is it helping me bring energy to my head? Can I focus more? Like, I can tell you for me that washing my hair like this and pinching my ears, this actually helped me not fall asleep in some of the classes. So you can teach them that, yes, if it's hard to focus in class, or I'm trying to focus now, this can help me. And how do I know it helps me? Because I'm aware of how I feel in my body. So we talk about that, about the focus. Like, okay, if it's hard for us to focus in class and we're all over the place, maybe we want to do this. Just wash our face, wash our hair, and then I can sit more quietly. I have but maybe not. Maybe it brings all the energy up, and now I'm more hyper. So we ask questions. How does it feel? It's like when I was, again, long time ago, when I was doing shiatsu for grown-ups, I remember that many times I would end a session in the third eye. And some people will just fall asleep. And then I'll go to the computer and type in what I did. And then they would wake up and say, oh, I thought you were still here. But for some, they would say, it just brings all the energy up, and then I have a headache. So then we do something to take the headache down. But for them, I make a note. I don't end at their head. I will end at their belly, at their feet, something else. So again, we all react differently. So we can try and write down, how it affects, because sometimes you want to do something that's supposed to calm them down, but in your case, no, it does the opposite effect, and it happens. So that's why it's, again, play, improvise, and read into how your child is reacting to whatever it was. Okay, let's move to another subject, which is stories. You tell a lot of stories. You make up situations. For instance, I would take them. We pretend we're now at the beach. Okay, so we're at the beach, and let's take off our shoes. The sand is so hot, and you do it. You pretend, and then you jump on your tippy toes because the sand is so hot. So let's run towards the water, and then you walk towards the water. It feels so good. It feels so good. And then again, depends on the child. Sometimes you can say, okay, let's close our eyes. And how does it feel? How does the water feel? What do you hear? So again, it's not just, okay, let's sit and pretend we're in a situation and start, no, we do it dynamically. We move and then we stop, and we move and then we stop. And then again, depends on the child. Okay, so okay, what do we hear? What sounds do we hear? Okay, let's open our eyes again, and okay, let's start swimming. And then you swim a little bit, and then there's a wave, and then you jump. It's a small wave, and then there's a big wave, and we jump, and we do it all together. Oh no, no, big jellyfish. Let's get out of the water. Let's put the towel on, and let's, now the sand feels very nice and warm, and let's close our eyes again. Okay, let's see. What do we hear? What sounds do we hear? What do we smell? And if you do it with a few kids, it's nice because some kids at first will not cooperate too much, but then someone else says, oh, I hear a bird, and someone else will say, oh, I hear the ice cream person, and then you just make it into a game. And then again, you take it to places that are right for your child. Like if you want them to focus on something now, so you do something and then you help them, like, okay, let's run, jump, do whatever you want, and okay, now let's sit, and now let's again wake up, if this helps them, or let's see, music helps them, but you bring them to the situation you wanted to. You can do it with food as well. Instead of just eating food, you can sit and say, we're not going to touch the food yet. We're gonna play with our senses a little bit. First, we're gonna, don't even show them what it is. You say, first close your eyes, and now I want you to smell. And let's tell me what do you smell? And then they have to think about what they smell, and then maybe they can touch. And what does it feel like? And then they can look at it. And sometimes you don't have to do it not telling them what it is. You can tell them, okay, this is a chocolate cube. And you can do a home meditation on a chocolate cube. You say, we don't eat it yet. We're just going to hold it in our hand. And let's just focus on the weight. Is it heavy? Or compare two different snacks. Let's compare the weight. Okay, and now let's smell, let's feel it. Let's take a small piece and just put it in our mouth, but we're not going to bite. We're just going to focus on what it feels like, what happens when it starts melting. So again, it's being in the moment, learning to be present and not have our mind racing all over, but maybe we need to do something before that so we can sit down. So again, if we need to wait, we need to stand up and pretend we're in the woods and we're running around a tree, we're climbing a tree. Again, make up a story, doesn't matter what. But some kids need to let their energy out before they can sit down and meditate on food. If we want them to go to sleep, the child has a hard time falling asleep, and we want to do some mindfulness before sleep, then again, we'll make up a story, but gradually we can be walking through a fairy tale, a favorite book, but slowly, when we return, we'll go into the bed. The bed could be, I don't know, a tent. We're having a tent on the beach, and now we're going to go into our sleeping bag, and it's our bed. We're going to go into the sleeping bag, and now we're going to turn off the flashlight, and we're going to just listen to the sounds of the waves. Something like that, again, to help them fall asleep. And we're not going to do it just through guided imagery. We're going to start by, yes, we're going to walk and pretend that our toothbrush is, I don't know. But again, a lot of imagination. And we're going to end something that helps our body calm down, be present in the bed, and go to sleep. But it could be that we want to do it in the morning when we want them to be able to focus and their mind is racing all over the place, but we want to bring them. So we're like in the class, if I would do the mindfulness right before we teach them something new. So I want them to get their energy out and then sit and be focused. So we got some wiggles out, but now we're not too calm that we want to go to sleep. We're just in the right place. So a lot of games about that. So you depend if you want the energy up, down, focus, you make up the game accordingly. And you can ask them, okay, where are we going now? Just let them. You don't have to make up too many stories. Just play along as you go. Another kind of mindfulness that you can do is more focus on the physical. So on physical, what things feel like. So you can do, okay, let's take our hands and just hold them tight, fist, very, very, very tight. Let's focus just on how that feels and then let go. What does it feel like? Okay, now let's do the same. And from our fist all the way to our elbow, just the right hand. And let go. And now just the left hand. And let go. How does the hand feel now? Is something more flowing? And again, we're focusing, we're mindful of what's going on in our body. Now let's do both hands from our fist to elbow. And let go. And then all the way to our shoulders. So, and let go. So again, they're focusing on something. They're mindful on something, but it's not, again, sitting and meditating for 30 minutes. It's more active. And then we can add we start from here and end in our belly button. And let go. And you could do it with me just so you see how it feels like. It takes your mind off other things. And all the way to our knees. And let go. And then all the way to our feet. And let go. And then all the way until our nose. And let go. And to our hair. And then you make a face. And they make a face to our hair. And let go. And then you see how they react. And then ask them how they feel. How that makes them feel. Because if that helps them feel more relaxed, then every time that there's something going on, okay, let's do that little exercise. Let's do this and let go. And then, okay, now we know that this is a sign for us that now we can sit and focus, or we do that before sleep. Again, something can be very waking up for one person and very relaxing for another. So that's another thing. You can do something with breathing exercises. So you can say, okay, and again, we're not going to say, okay, let's practice on breathing in and breathing out, because that doesn't work for every kid. And for some, and even for some adults, it just adds more stress. But you can make it into an exercise. So you can say, okay, let's breathe out everything and shrink. So, and then breathe in and grow and shrink and grow. So, and you can do that for a while, and then ask them which animal does it remind them of. Maybe be a blowfish or again, whatever feels right. But we're going to just breathe in and breathe out, and without calling it that. We're going to grow and shrink. Or you can do something like, okay, let's breathe out and put our hands together. And then when we breathe in, one hand goes towards the sky and the other hand goes towards the floor. So it's like, and then when we breathe out, we switch the order. And then we breathe in and one hand goes to the sky and the other to the floor. And when we shrink, we switch the order. So again, we're focusing on something physical, but we're breathing in and breathing out. So we're focused on our breath and what we're doing physically, and it's calming down. I'll give you other ideas. There was this teenager that she had a lot of anxiety, and we worked on buttons, acupressure buttons, to help the anxiety be more proportional to what was going on. But there was still one thing that was really, really, really hard for her to deal with, and it was fire alarms. And since then, I heard it from other parents as well, that sometimes the fire alarms are too much, a lot of stress. And I said, okay, so maybe when that happens, don't be in a moment. So we found a trick that worked for her. So when there was a fire alarm, she would pretend in her mind, she's now telling her mother what happened during the fire alarm. So she was focused on she would already start telling the story in her mind. So she would notice what happened when it was going on. Let's tell mom now what happened. So okay, the teacher did this, the kids did that. Just notice little small details. So pretend she's now telling her mom everything that happened, but taking herself out of the situation, just looking at it as it already happened. So that worked for her. And actually, it sometimes works when I work with moms that have a very big anxiety over labor. I would say also, just don't be in that moment. Just already imagine how you're telling the story to someone else and notice all the details, like the anesthesiologist was funny, and it's happening now, but she's already playing in her mind how she's going to tell it to her friends because she doesn't want to focus on her fear and on her pain. So she's focusing on something else. So that's another thing that you can do, like teach them that sometimes when it's too much for me to accept, to tolerate, to work with, I will not be there. I will find something, and it could be me telling it already in my head, but it could be that I'm just going to focus on something physical. I'm going to focus on and hold tight and let go. Or there was an actress that she had a lot of anxiety for auditions. So we couldn't do something that other people would see, and she can't now tell a story in her head because she has to focus on the lines. So we found something else. We focused on her big toe. So she would stand there and press her big toe into the floor as hard as she could, and she would focus physically on that. So all the energy, all the anxiety goes down, and she physically, she's there. She's focusing on that, and that helped her not be stressed. So again, it's just ideas. You keep on making these things up according to where you need to put in some, be in the moment or not be in the moment, be present in something else, be present in something physical, so your emotions are not standing in your way. But it just have to be very, very creative and keep on making these things up. Some kids have issues with communication or eye contact and communication. So you can do an exercise together. You can make eye contact and see how long you can make eye contact before you laugh and practice. And the more you practice, the easier it gets. At first, it's hard not to laugh. It's funny, and it's something we're all not used to do. So you can practice with that. And if there's a problem with communication or reading how physically strong I am, or having issues with boundaries, a child that touches too much and does not respect other people's boundaries, you can do something else to teach them how to be mindful of that. So you can play a mirror game. So it goes like, I will place my hands and the child will place their hands without touching, but just very close. And whatever I do, the child has to do. So, and you just play one hand, two hands, and different, go slow, go fast, but they're my mirror. And then we switch, and I'm their mirror. So they get to lead, and whatever they do, I do. And then we stop and we ask, what was easier? Was it easier to lead, or was it easier to follow? And everyone is different. Some love leading, and some don't like it because they have to make up things and they don't know what to make up, and it was stressful for them, or maybe not stressful, but not very comfortable. So it was easier for them to follow. And then we do with touch. We stick our hands together. And again, I would lead first, or it doesn't matter who leads first, but one person would lead first, and you follow with touch. And then you switch. And again, you ask, what was easier, to lead, to follow? What was easier, with touching, without touching? And here it's the same. For some, it's easier to follow when it's touching, because you can even close your eyes. It's just, but for some, they're not used to it. So it's a little inconvenient in the beginning. But again, we're working on teaching them to accept it. So it's easier for them that we work with them and we do hold our hands together. And for some, they need to learn other people's boundaries. And then we can do it with our eyes closed. So only the part with the touch. We can hold hands together, and then we can, and again, what's easier for you, to follow, to lead? Again, a lot of being mindful to something, you don't need to call it mindfulness, but it's being mindful of what's easier for me. Why is it easier for me? Where is it difficult for me? Why is it difficult? And we practice, and the more we practice, it gets easier. Another game we can do of, again, being mindful in the moment is we play games of hover touch. So we don't touch, it's just hovering. So it's harder to do it on yourself, but still you can. If you hold your hand above your skin, see how far you can hold it while you still feel that there's a hand there. Or you can do it with someone else. It's easier, because if you close your eyes, it's not, like this you won't feel, but here you'll feel it. And then we can play with that, like, when do you feel my heat? Is it hot? Is it cold? Where is my hand now? And again, it's a game that helps us just focus. And I'm quiet inside my body because I have to listen. Where am I feeling it? So again, I would just make a list of basic things, start playing with them, and see what works. And the more you play with them, they will make up things too. Because it's, again, you can go online and just search for ideas, but it's at some point you just have to start making up things, because you're going to read something online and it's going to look this is so fun, I'm going to do this with my child, and no, it's not going to be interesting for them at all. And it's not going to go the way you planned. So you just make up things as you go. That's what my suggestion is to you. Just make it up as you go, and allow your children to do the same. Because like with the stories, you start something and they'll take you somewhere. Yes, where is it now? It's here, it's there. The same we did with acupressure buttons. Because I gave them a button, say you're sitting now and you're in class and you have to focus, but there are so many wiggles in your body, and right now no one can take you outside to run. You have to sit, you can't move too much, you can't make noise, you have to concentrate. What do you do? So I gave them an idea. I said, okay, there is a point right here, an acupressure point, call it a button. And if you guys press it, I remember when I was in school and we pressed it, and it was winter, and suddenly it felt like a heat wave through my body. This is a point that really moves things around. That's why we don't use it for pregnant women usually, and it's good for some of the headaches, not for all of them, but really it moves things around. So you press it, there's a knot here usually, and when you press the knot, you feel something. Like everything else, there is no 100%. Not everyone is going to feel something, but hopefully you feel something and it kind of moves the energy strongly. So it helps wake up, it helps get rid of the wiggles. And I asked the kids, what do you want it to be? Is it, and they used to run the track in the morning. I asked them, is it like running the track? Like you can imagine when you press this, that you're running the track and now you're calmer because you ran. Or it could be that you're jumping up and down, or it could, and each child would relate to something else. This point, I would tell them, okay, this moves things around, and they would make up the story of what it does for them. Like one child, yes, that's running the track, but for another child, it was riding the bicycle, and they all had something that they want to imagine, and that's their go-to. So I would remind them, like they were in class and it's hard to concentrate, and I would say, okay, do you want to press, which button do you want to press? Do you want to press this button? Do you press? And some would press this button and some would press another button. Another button you can teach them is right here. And this helps calm down. And some will go like this, up. And for some, they'll push it down. And for some, they'll just go like this. And again, I'll ask them, what does this activate for you? And for one, it was sitting in a cloud. And for another, it was being on a beach. So you find points and you call them a button, and you help the child find something. So then again, they're right now having a meltdown or something, and you remind them, which button do you want to press? So again, you'll help them find those points and help find a story behind those points. Okay, so I gave you some ideas. Again, some are more story and imagination, some are more physical, and some are how to not be in a moment if something is too much emotionally. I want to hear if you guys have questions. Or tell me a little bit about if there's something that I said that made you think and now you have ideas in that regard, because then you can share it with other parents as well. It depends if it's on the spectrum. I mean, how severe it is. If it's mild, or it really depends. There is even with kids that don't have ASD, some will cover it great, and some you'll have to take it and make it into something else. I'll give you an idea, and you'll have to make something totally different out of it. I would try it. I would try and see what works, what doesn't work. And maybe their speed is very, very different. Like maybe you have to run from thing to thing very fast. Like maybe you can't start with this and go all the way to the feet and then head. Maybe you have to go like this 3 times and then move to the next thing. So you have to look at their speed. You try and see what works. And again, you will sometimes again with the same class, 2 groups, and it was a total different experience. So I would try and I would see what works. Is it more something physical? Is it something more that you do together, or no? Or is it something that each does individually? See, Okay. Yes, not all kids like, and you know what? Even some grown-ups. I remember there is something that the kids call it a lie detector. I have a biofeedback sensor that goes into my computer, and it shows you on the screen what's going on inside. So it shows you if you're stressed, if you're kind of in between, or if you're relaxed. And when you're relaxed, it shows you if you're a little relaxed or very relaxed. And the kids call it a lie detector because it shows you where you're stressed. Like you talk about something, and then suddenly, oh, I didn't even know that was that stressful. It shows you what's going on inside. And I remember there was a mom and the grandma was visiting, and they're both very different. So we did both of them. They were sitting in the room together. And the mom, she's very big into breathing techniques, and the grandma, no. And so the grandma, when she tried to do anything with breathing, just the thought about, okay, it's like someone tells you don't look down when you have fear of heights. No, you're not supposed to say don't look down. You're supposed to just not focus on it. So when she tried breathing, it just made it worse. But with the mom, it was, yeah, breathing. She knows how to breathe. She knows how to calm herself down. With the grandma, we had to do something just physical. So distract her from thinking of how do I calm myself down. And again, some people are very, very good at controlling their how their body reacts. Some, when you do the biofeedback, you can test and you see, does something physical help me? Like, oh, I forgot something, and I remember because of the biofeedback. There was a kid that seemed very, very, very mellow, but he came in for stutter, and I know that stutter is about stress in the system. And as soon as he got on the biofeedback, and he's sitting there and looking very, very calm, and I showed him that he's stressed from the very beginning. His body is stressed all the time. And we tried different things on him, and nothing works. So I told him to think about a pancake and to think about the toppings. And that was the first time that he was like green. It showed green, which was mellow. And we learned that for him, pancake works because he's not focusing on trying to be calm. He's just really focusing on his favorite toppings. And every time he would start making up a story about the toppings, and and that worked for him. For some, a hug helps, and for some, their Lego helps. So you can see, and that's something that actually it's easy. You can just get some biofeedback app. You can, even for the phone. I have one for the computer, but you can get one on your phone, and then you teach yourself. It's like the stress muscle. You can test, when am I stressed and what helps me calm down. And again, you can try it without the biofeedback. The biofeedback just is like a lie detector and tells you exactly what's going on. So yes, if someone doesn't like breathing, don't do it. Did someone get to write their own story when I was giving examples? Like make up something of your own? If not, it's gonna happen. When you start, you're gonna find yourself making up a lot of new mindfulness games. Anyone want to share? Okay, yes. So from the games, I'll show you something. Over the years, from playing with kids and parents in the clinic, I created an emotional game that helps kids acknowledge their emotions and learn through mimicking their adults, because we have cards about giving advice to others, and we have cards where we physically pretend something without words, and we have a card for sharing. And so many times you see when the kid is very reserved and not open about their feelings, it's because that's what they say at home, because we forget that they mimic us, and if we're not open about our emotions, so are the kids. So when the kids play with their grown-ups, they see their grown-ups doing it, and so they learn how to, first of all, say it out loud. Yes, I was jealous, or yes, I was mad, and think together how to resolve it. So for the holidays, anyone that gets a package for the sensory and emotional regulation will get a physical copy of this game sent to them. I see we have another question. With Legos. Oh, yes, Legos. Do you have an idea how to do it? Is there something running in your mind already? You can unmute and share.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I was thinking because both of my boys actually really love Legos and they're very creative. So just getting them to kind of think of their favorite Lego place and what kind of Lego pieces, what colors, to mentally get them involved. I think that might be something that would actually work really great with both of them even.
Good. So I see you've implemented what I said. It's just making it up, tailoring it, again, to their pace, to their needs, and you can make up something when they need to lower the energy, and you can make up something to boost the energy. And it has to be around something that they like and exciting for them, or because again, for some kid it's a pancake, another kid is a Lego, Stuffy, their dog. When you make up a story together, when okay, we go to the park and what do we see there, and then they make up something, and then okay, well, we jump over it or we go around it, and then okay, let's stop for a second, what do we smell? And again, it's a moment of being quiet and listening to sounds of nature. Or you can do it at home too. Okay, let's snap back. We're now in our room and we still have homework to do. Okay, what do we hear? What do we da 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 da? Okay, how do we need more energy? Okay, will we wash our head now? Do we need more energy? What do we need? Do we need some water? Okay, and it's learning to read what's going on in my body, read what's going on in my emotions, and then verbalizing what do I need to get it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Actually, I just put in another question as well.
Okay. Okay, so at the first time someone's very upset, it's going to take time for them to calm down. But after that, when they're calm, you talk to them and you think together, what can we do? And then next time when it happens, you remind them, okay, remember we said, that word, like if someone is being really impossible and giving everyone a hard time, and then you decide, okay, let's say that, when it's too much, we're going to say the word love, and that's, the button. So maybe the first time it's not going to work so great, and then you're going to talk about it and learn from it, and then next time again. So you'll find a button. Okay, when you're very, 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 very stressed, let's pretend this button works, or pretend that your feet have like roots, and you're focusing on the roots when you're mad, so all the energy goes down. And then again, you're going to practice not when it happens, and when it happens the first time might not work, but then you're going to remind them, and then the second time. I can tell you that because of that, in the game that I made blank cards that they write down and fill it themselves, and then we go and discuss what happened. And then afterwards. You remember that thing that you did? Would it be an advice card, a pretend card, or a share card? And then no ego. There's no ego. Now I'm making a card that someone else can play with so they can talk about it. And then the next time I will say, in the moment when they're very upset, which card would you make it into? So maybe the second time it won't work. 5 minutes later it will. But the third time they'll snap. They might snap out of it. They might only the fourth time. But I teach them to think about which card they're going to make, or find a word, or find an exercise. Like when you're really, really, really mad, jump 100 times. Like ask them for, how does it feel when you jump 100 times? Or you can say, pretend you're really, really, really mad. What do you feel when you're really mad? You remember everything goes up. So let's do something that brings everything down, and make something together. Like pretend you're going to jump into a puddle, and then your focus is on your feet in the puddle in the cold water. So you're all the mad that goes up goes into the puddle. So again, just keep on making those games, keep on talking to the kids after something like that happens. Come make things together, how to resolve it, and practice. And so fine, the first time it didn't work, but you're gonna discuss it after, and then the second time you're gonna try again. So play, just be kids with them. Be kids. Pretend, make up things, let them be a part of it and make up things together. That's about having fun and just be a kid. That's I think that's the key. My pleasure. I hope you all got some ideas and some, something that you remember, and mostly I want you to remember to just make up things. And if you have questions, you can always contact me through ParentGood. We're going to wait 2 minutes to see if anyone remembers a question, and if not, we're going to send you to bed, hopefully with energies calm. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys go. And again, if you remember anything, have a question, just find me through ParentGood. Good night, everyone.